you know, workshop may be an overstatement, but we'll see. But we'll definitely try to interact with you guys, and that's the beginning of the show. So my name is Maciej Makuszewski. I'm proud to be the head of IA gaming division at Chromatic Games. Luca, a few words about you.
Okay, my name is Luca Oblak. I'm in charge of product development at Chromatic Group as a whole for retail.
And we're here to talk about a little bit about balancing responsibility, because there was a lot of talk about responsible gaming, as in any gaming conference, and engagement, which is a tricky thing, but we'll try to let you in to the world of game development and to actually see how those games of chance are produced and what challenges and what decisions need to be taken for a game like this to actually come to the market. But first, a little quiz, because we all know in the gaming industry that we care deeply about responsible gaming. I mean, the guys said that some of the operators do care, some of them don't care, but there aren't any people who will admit openly that they don't care about responsible gaming. So let's take a look at the outside world, outside of gaming, to see how much they care about responsible gaming, and especially communication and the responsible marketing and communication of gaming products to youth. So I handpicked some of my favorite movies and my kids' favorite movies, and we will have a little quiz here. There are 6 questions, you can get 6 points, and there are really, really attractive prizes. They are in my pocket here, so it's either money or something close to money. So guys, make your own notes, and see how many points you can score. Is there a scene related to casino gambling in this movie, Big Short? The one about the crisis of 2008. What do you think?
Of course.
Of course there is. It's the most important one with Selena Gomez. So the person who said of course has 1 point. But make your own notes, guys. Really, it's important. How about this one, Toy Story 3? What do you think?
Sure.
Of course there is. There are toys playing roulette. Buzz Lightyear is going through some kind of a tunnel and sees this. Toys playing roulette in a kind of a shady and steamy room. Probably there's some cigarette smoking around. It's very interesting. Very interesting what the kids kind of think. My younger daughter was 3, I think, when she saw the movie first. I was really, really curious what she thought this was. Okay, let's go further. So you can have 2 points now. The Wolf of Wall Street. Yes or no?
No.
No.
No. There is only one sentence related to gambling, and it's one of the first sentences of the movie when he says, "I gamble like a mother," and then he doesn't show how he does it. Next. So we can have 3 points now. Despicable Me. 4. Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, there are slot machines there. And what's even more interesting is that because during this scene you can see that this minion is actually enjoying himself at a casino in Vegas and winning, like you can see there, a lot of money. And he gets distracted, and he's very sad that he gets distracted from playing. I don't know if that's responsible. American Gangster, one of my favorite movies of all time. Denzel Washington, Russell Crowe. What do you think? Yes or no?
Yes.
No. 0 casino gambling scenes. Wolf of Wall Street, like a movie that gathers all kinds of pathology. Like you wouldn't find a drug that's not in the movie. An American Gangster, no. How many is that? 4 or 5? 5. I think that was 5, and this is the last one. 6. Hotel Transylvania 3. What do you think? Yes or no?
No. Yes.
Huge casino scene. Huge. You have blackjack. You have slots. There's poker. There's craps, I think, as well. Also, my daughter watched it when she was 4, I think. The younger one. So, okay, so who has 6 out of 6? No. It's impossible. Anyone? 6 out of 6? Seriously, there are prizes. No, 5 out of 6. No. 4? You have 4. Here's your chance to win 100 million zloty. Euro jacket. Today, the prize today. 3 out of 4? No one? It's your chance. I made a photo, so you know you need to beat me to the shop to get the prize. 3? 3 out of 4? 2? This is gentleman. Życzymy wysokich wygranych.
I'm splitting the win.
Thank you. Okay, so as you can see, it's a funny world, responsible gambling, because we care about it deeply, but there are those who, I mean, I don't want to put blame or point fingers or say, you know, but like, I do wonder what's in the back of the mind of a person who comes up with a movie script for kids. Basically, I know that those movies are not only made for kids, but and puts a huge casino scene, especially Hotel Transylvania 3 is like, you need to see it, you know, it's crazy. And they know that little kids will watch it. And we, in the industry, we treat responsible gaming like, oh, is FIFA cards responsible? I mean, what does it have to do with games of chance, responsible gaming, etc., etc.? And then you go to the movies and see things like that. So this is a really, really tricky thing. But coming back to the subject, I will try to be very quick to give the floor to Luca. So on the agenda today, the responsibility imperative. There is a thing like that. I will dig a little deeper into this and how responsible gambling can actually backfire. We all know it. We've seen it. We'll see some of the examples. And then Luca will take over to talk about understanding engagement in slot design, so what makes a slot game engaging and how it can combine engagement and responsibility. So with this responsibility imperative, I thought it was kind of funny that there's this quote from the father of modern medicine that says, in Polish it sounds really nice, it says, dawka czy nie trucizna. So everything is a poison. It's just a dosage that defines whether this is a poison or not. And this is funny because it relates both to gambling and responsible gaming. If you overdo with gambling, basically, you will fall into the problem gambling issue and addiction. If you overdo with responsible gaming from an operator's or a regulator's perspective, you will also fall into trouble. You will lose customers, you will not get the channelization you want, so like the buzzword from the last panel. So that's that. And it's a notion that I think regulators should really consider. So because what we should actually aim at, and what I think regulators don't trust that we as operators, I used to work on the operator side at Totalizator Sportowy, or game providers, is that for us, a problem gambler is really not a good customer. And they just don't trust it. For obvious reasons. They know that we're here to make money, and they just don't trust it when we tell them, guys, for us, the problem gambler is not a good customer. So, but when we do apply, and when we do, for example, self-regulate or plan stuff regarding responsible gaming without even sometimes knowingly know that this is responsible gaming, we We do it so that the players don't chase their losses, don't increase the amount they decided to gamble, and so that they don't continue after they've made a clear statement that they don't want to gamble anymore. This is the purpose, and I guess everyone should remember why these principles and responsible gaming measures are there. I will add one more, so that they don't gamble in a illegal, let's say, environment. Because so many operators actually do think that problem gamblers are not good customers, there have been several measures around the continent, let's focus in Europe, of self-regulation, which I think sometimes in the discussion about responsible gambling skip the minds of the regulators. There was an initiative in 2011 of European Gaming and Betting Association, which said responsible remote gambling measures send workshop agreement. It was the first step to kind of a standardization of procedures and measures of responsible gaming that can be implemented by operators and game providers around Europe. Obviously, Europe is not a unified gambling market, we all know that. But there can be stuff like standards, because the SAN thing is like when a European Commission says, okay, we need to regulate something or we need to standardize something, they go to SAN. And you will find all kinds of measures there in this paper from 2011 that still apply and that can be refreshed today may contribute to the whole discussion of responsible gaming, given all the experiences we've had in the last almost 15 years from that. And there are also things like advertising standards in the UK, which you can follow. So why I'm saying this is because those are the proof that there is self-regulation, and there is such a thing as self-regulation, because sometimes the operators and the providers think that, okay, we need stuff to be followed by everyone, just to show those people that we really care. Last but not least, before we move on to the part where we talk about how responsible gaming almost killed a great game, two slides, I think, and two short stories about the RG measures that had a good intention but can backfire. And the first of them was already discussed largely today during the first panel. That's the advertising ban in Poland. We all know it doesn't work. There were discussions about why it doesn't work. Basically, what the advertising ban is an empty statement for some, and it prohibits the legal operators such as totalizator sportowy to actually talk about the fact that they have either slot halls or a casino, which makes all kinds of room in the internet space, and not only in the internet space, for illegal operators to jump in and try to steal their customers. So this is something that on a very high level doesn't work properly, and it had a good intention obviously, but just wasn't applied properly. And another thing is probably something that my friend Maciej reminded me of from the Finnish market, which I hope I don't get it wrong, but some time ago they kind of made a hard cap on the spend that you could make through a period of time. I don't know if it was a quarter or a year or something like that. And this cap ended in this channelization issue that was discussed during the last panel. So those are the things. You can see all kinds of measures, and I can imagine that there would be regulators who would say, okay, I will apply all of them, and it will be a perfect market. But sometimes too much is just simply killing effectiveness. And mind that those are the measures that not only operators need to follow, but there are also measures that we need to follow as game providers. And things like in-game limits of bet and win, losses disguised as wins, which are a big no-go, accurate instructions, randomness, RTP levels. This is the level of complexity that we deal with to actually deliver the games of chance that can be called responsible. Luke, I will let you in on this right now, and I will just leave you with another piece of anecdote. In Singapore, there was this responsible gaming ad during the World Cup of 2014. I don't know if you remember. Germany won against Brazil 7-1, and then I think won the World Cup. And there was this huge advertising campaign in Singapore with a kid that says, "I hope Germany wins. My dad bet all my savings on them." So that backfired again with good intentions. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Just go to the next slide, please. It's not so many slides. Thanks. Okay, so So don't consider this as like a silver bullet. We do this, we have the best game in the world, and that's just approximation or maybe a description of everything that we have to do and consider when we are creating a slot game. So basically, this is loosely divided into team and logic, which would be kind of front end and back end of the game. So let's talk about the front end first. First, we need an idea, obviously, and once we get these ideas or things like that, we need to think of a name of the game, which needs to be related, obviously, to what's going on, related to graphics, to what's happening in the game. So Red Hot 7s probably wouldn't have green 7 symbols. Very basic stuff. The second thing that we need to consider is accuracy in relation to reality, and if it's understandable to general public. Like, we cannot focus on some really small thing that nobody knows about because it's just not going to be interesting to the people. Then we have this graphical relation to the team, art design, quality, and animation, and so on. Here are a few basic things, especially with art. You can have the best graphics, the most advanced art, and everything. But if you look at most of the games, you either have low symbols, which are either fruits that everybody knows, or letters from the cards called royals. And why do we do this? Because if you have a game with 13 symbols, and each symbol is a different graphic the player doesn't understand yet, doesn't know which symbol is high, medium, or low, it's going to be very complicated to play this game, because in 2 seconds, the duration of one spin, he's not going to connect them together as fast as you can connect like all the A letters and things like that. And that's the reason why we use such things. It's kind of in player's subconscious that he already connects this in 2 seconds. If he had like 10, 20 seconds per game, he could get used to it. Probably in social games, this is a bit different because it's kind of not real money and they play differently. Then you have the general melody of the wind sounds and sound effects, which kind of need to be the same thing, either, I don't know, Caribbean or something. But it's usually very bad if you just mix everything that you have, it just doesn't sound good. And then you need to kind of put everything together, synchronize it, so the animation stops when the sound hits and things like that. Then we have there's a typo there, but it should be game speed. Especially on retail markets, for example. Players will sit on the machine and they will slowly play, and they don't want to be interrupted. It just needs to be almost hypnotizing, and the machine needs to respond to the player. On online, it's usually a bit more complicated than that because of the latency of the internet, or they just simply put it to autoplay and play it like that. So it's a bit different, but still. And then, obviously, when the player chooses the game, when he opens the game, he needs to basically get the game a few seconds, like maybe 1 minute, because otherwise he's playing and he doesn't know how he's winning, how he's getting the money. Like, you're betting, I don't know, 1 zloty per spin, but you don't know what needs to happen to get the money back. So it's kind of like he will play and like, oh, I really don't get this, and he will switch. On retail, less complicated on online. When you have online casino with 10,000 games, he will never go back to that game again. You just say, this is something I don't understand. Might be a great game, not for him. So we need accurate and quick instructions. In help screens, in the preloader, is the screen which loads before the game starts. On-screen text, even above the reels, you sometimes get 3 of these symbols and you will trigger free games during the gameplay. This is very good. And on retail we have info displays and things like that. And the other very important thing is the game icon. It needs to obviously represent the things that I mentioned in the beginning, but also, if you go to online casino, you have 1,000 games on the page. Which one will you pick? And are you going to remember it for next time and so on? So it's very, very important to have a memorable game icon. Not necessarily the best graphic, but it needs to kind of stand out. And this will really pull the player, and he's going to remember. Okay, it's the ugly icon, but this one is what I played, so I'm going to play it again. That's why we do it like this. The back end, obviously, game mechanic, is this expanding wide or not, or does it expand like this, or on all positions, stuff like that? Does it have free spins? All this, I could talk a lot about this, but it's kind of boring. So it's just all these parts need to be there in order to get the front end to even run. To spin the reels, to animate the symbols and things like that. Which is map, win lines, pay table, features, maximum win, RTP, hit rate, wins distribution frequencies, and a lot of other stuff. So just move on. So I live and work in Poland like 50% of my time, and I'm from Slovenia. Obviously, I don't speak Polish. I lived in other countries. I learned other languages. The first thing that you learn are really the bad words of that language, any language. So it was kind of similar in Polish as well. So, but it's a good example of why we did this game, and also related to the subject that we have today, the responsibility. What can you or can't you do, and all the things that we had to kind of consider when we were doing this. So basically, there was a guy who saw beaver for the first time. And in Polish, obviously, he started to go, oh, bobber, kurwa, and so on and so on. So we said, okay, how would we do this? How would we gamify this thing? Like, it's getting a lot of traction. It's a lot of free marketing, basically, because people started to create their own beavers with guns and, I don't know, everything, and it was really a fun thing. Obviously, not aimed at the complete market, because maybe older people don't see TikTok videos or reels on Instagram and things like that. But some people did, and some people started to copy that sound from that guy, the vocals, to other animal situations, beaver situations, and so on. So we said, okay, let's try to do this. Let's see what happens. First thing, can we say kurva or not? That was the never-ending discussion in the company. I said, no, come on, guys, like we need to keep it like
professional.
Yeah, I mean professional. But let me ask you this. Gambling, it's not for kids. Anybody that's not of legal age cannot play. When you go for a few beers, let's say, with your friends in Poland, what's the word that's mostly used? Jesus, yeah, exactly. But, so, everybody uses it. Now, since casinos and gambling is something of an adult industry, I'm not talking about pornography, but still. What's the worst that can happen if we use such language? It would probably be even more interesting. But we said, okay, it's the first time, let's not go too far. That's why we had to really soften the vocals up. I think we had to record them 3 times, but we still had to do it. But it was still a question of, should we or should we not? Then, as you can see, there's a little map, and there's also Slovenia in the corner. I don't know why it's not red. There was an investigation of how many countries actually use the word kurva. Are we producing this thing that will only be understandable for Poland or for the whole Eastern Europe? And this was the answer. Actually, somebody actually took his time and investigated this and put it on the internet and said, this is all the countries that use such words. And I said, well, good for us, I guess. So it was one thing. Then we had treatment of animals, like, is this guy abusing the beaver in the game, or is like just playing with him? Is he going to hurt him or not? In the original video, he walks away with own pants and everything, so I guess not the best thing that he did with this poor animal, but still, it's still funny, you know? It's maybe not fun, but it's funny. So that was the next question. I said, okay, let's not try to hurt this beaver, let's just make him escape or whatever. And then there was this subject of child appealing design. The beaver on the left side is what we use, because the face is kind of adult, maybe even a little bit scary to the kids. But that was the first one, so our CEO, Maciek, were giving me a lot of problems because of this. He said, no, this one is good. No, we need to change it, this cannot go. Why not? Because he looks like, you know, this Alvin and the chipmunks, so we said, okay, come on, let's change it. And the other one was this rubber duck symbol, which is very funny, easy to remember, easy to see. Remember what I said about royal letters in games? This would be really easy to remember. In my opinion, it would be better, but still, you cannot do this look. So I said, okay, let's change this one as well. So those were all the considerations that we had to do, because, you know, it's a theme which is kind of cartoonish, which is close to kids, but on the other hand, when you start to look at what Maciek presented in the beginning, like 2 movies with the biggest amount of drugs, one was what, heroin, American Gangster, and the other one was everything else, don't have gambling. But all the childish things have gambling inside. For the little kids, not regulated, basically. So, you know, it's crazy how this happens. So, producing games like that, it's more complicated than it seems in the beginning. At least that was my experience. So it's this, and the other thing is the RTP, which is maybe not for us. When we produce a game, we build a lot of different RTPs. Basically, the operator then kind of decides what he wants to use. But if you go to high, we have a really big market in Africa, where we used to have lower RTP than we have now. We switched thousands of machines basically in the same week. What happened? People want more money, but people didn't take that money home. People started to play more. Still, the RTP is a lot lower than total casino, but still, if we continue to go up with this, it's going to be not just an issue for the player, it's going to be an issue for everybody on this market. Because where will we stop? Who will go a little bit higher? Who will go 0.1% higher with RTP again and again and again? At the end of the day, people will go basically crazy, and not a lot of money will be made. I mean, that's for all the companies, not just this market, any market. It's the same story everywhere. So, in the end, maybe just a few words. How did we do this? The logic is pretty simple, if you know the story. It's just a basic game with 20 win lines, where if you have 3 bobber symbols, you win 3 games, and in 3 games, it goes really hard, because just randomly, wild symbols start to appear. Okay, so how do we present this so it's not boring and it's kind of fun and it kind of changes constantly? So we said, okay, first, you know, players basically play because of the chase, because they are chasing that big win, or they're trying to get something that they didn't get yet, or oh, maybe I can get it again. So the first picture is what we call tension spin, or some people call it thrilling. It's basically when you get 2 scatter symbols, then the next drill will go faster, because maybe you are getting the third one. What should we do? So we created the river, and the beaver comes running and jumps into the river, and this guy is chasing you with his phone. Maybe you hit it, maybe you don't, and you win or you don't win 3 games. And then inside the 3 games, the wild symbols just start to appear. So how should we do this? So we looked back and we said, there's like a lot of people doing crazy things with the images of the bobber, you know? Like somebody created Bobber Lisa, like Mona Lisa. Somebody cut off the head of the Doberman, put the bobber head on it and called it Doberman. Stuff like that. So we started to kind of design the same graphics, and instead of just putting these symbols as wild, the bobber is actually running across the screen and just leaving wild symbols behind him in different animations. So when you do this, you also have a lot of options that you, let's say, let's release the same game, version 2, and just update. Let's see which memes are popular this month, and just add a few graphics. That's not so hard. If you have, you know, graphic designers and animators, they do this pretty quickly. And you record the vocals, and you completely next will be, okay, let's see what they prepared this month. Let's see if they updated. Let's see if I can win something that I haven't seen before. Some animation. At the end of the day, it's maybe for half of the people not even about the money anymore. It's just about pure entertainment. Like, let's see what they recorded now. And he will have a good time, you know, play a little bit and then go, like always. So, how did we gamify this? With all this stuff from the internet, basically. So, this is a lot of free marketing, to be honest, because maybe the team is not known to the whole world, but for the people who know this team, this is very simple. They're already used to it. They know everything. They're just looking for how they will make fun of all this stuff at this point. So that's mostly everything from my end. Any questions?
A very interesting presentation. Thank you very much. As a game producer, how do you see the tendency right now from the slot players? When you go, for example, to the casino in Vegas, you will see specifically that there is a specific group of players that are on purpose looking for a simple slots, that they don't want gamification, they don't want scatters. There is a group of players that usually chooses in Vegas like a simple slots. Do you see the same tendency, or that there is a group of players online that they don't want the slots which are packed with scatters, special gamification, that are specifically looking for a simple algorithm, simple RTP, and simple slots? Thank you.
Yeah, so it might be a bit of a wider subject. Simple answer. Our best, most played game is very simple, very old, to be honest, and it just keeps on going. It just never gets old. And it has almost none of such features that I described. Obviously, there are differences in player segments, from the fun player to the gambler to such things. And there are differences between, let's say, markets, for example. Vegas players, Vegas RTP will be 90%. Why? Because this is basically a tourist city where you come, you lose your money in 3 days, and you go home. When there was crisis in Las Vegas, for example, the most of the money that they made was from shows, from DJs, from stuff like that, not even from casinos. Now, after the crisis, after 2012, I think, it went back up. The other thing that you can see in Vegas is, I think the biggest hit this year was NFL slot from Aristocrat. I think this was the highest one. If you play this thing, like a base game, you just don't know. The beta, you're just not sure what you're even doing. It was strictly about getting those jackpots. What do we see on online? Like I said, at least for us, the most popular game is simple fruit game. But I'm also guessing that younger players will play more crash games, that younger players will play more indie games, Walking Dead, Titanic, whatever. Older players will play all these goldies and stuff like that. And you have specific markets like, let's say, Romania. Romania is a typical example of very mature market, but mostly free games. So it's not so simple to answer this question, but yeah, for us, it's like this golden rule. I think one of the game designers at some conference also said, he said, if you sit behind the machine or open the machine on iGaming, and you don't understand in 30 seconds what you need to do or how are you winning, forget about it. It can have the best graphic, license from the best movie, it's just not going to play. And that's okay. The team will give you a little bit, but not in the long run. Just to begin, play, I still don't understand this, sorry. We're going to move on to something else. I don't know if this
That was exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go.
Thanks. So, question here. Whenever you develop such games that are kind of referring to, say, real-time marketing, because there's one thing, you need to react fast, so you need to deliver the game within 1, 2, 3 weeks maybe, but not more than 1 to 2 months. And also on the other hand, you have a shorter lifespan for the game because people will remember the meme maybe for half a year, and then later there will be fine wieloryb or like another animal or whatever. And so what's your approach to this kind of challenges? Is it more from a framework perspective for you to be able to produce those games quickly, or what's your, because you need to address this kind of challenge whenever you think and whenever you kind of do the NPV calculation, right?
Yes, so maybe I wouldn't agree on this 2-3 week timing, but yeah, definitely not 5 years. I think this meme or video, when it came out, it wasn't that big yet. It was still growing, right? We also can see some mobile games with Bobber and stuff like that. So it wasn't, we weren't so pressed for time, to be honest. But I think the other part of your question was this, like, how fast can we react? Very fast. We can do the game in 2 weeks. Just not the new math and not the new logic implementation on the back end, but something that we have that plays pretty well. It's very simple. You basically just copy it, change the graphics, change the sounds, tune it a little bit, obviously, and it's a go. And there's this difference between iGaming and retail. Because for iGaming, in certain countries, basically you just push it out. It's a little bit of certification very fast, which if the market is not too complex about that. For retail, it's just not so simple. Because you still need to put it on the machine together with other games, and you need to put the machine on the truck, and you need to agree with the casino, and, you know, and it takes a few months at least. Plus, we will try this game on retail, but I'm not sure how the market is going to react. Then there's this question, how long is this going to be actual? Because if in 6 months nobody's going to remember this bobber, then that game will probably not play. We are hoping that people will remember it for a long time. And coming back to free marketing, this team is still being pushed. Like they sell t-shirts, you know? And they constantly update the reels on Instagram and photos on Facebook and things like that. And it's like a community of people that just creates this. And if we touch maybe even the AI, we go to ChatGPT and just tell him to create bobber with something and it will. And again, it gets pushed to the internet. I mean, it's amazing where we live now. That's the story.
I think also it would be nice if you ask this question to certification labs. Because it's not the matter of how fast we can react and produce stuff. It's more of a matter of how long the whole process of actually launching a game is, and a big chunk of it might be the certification part in some markets. In others, it's not.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.